There's so many things to discuss. We can talk politics, we can talk about, the dialogue and conversation about just animal cruelty. There's so many other things that um, we could actually discuss when we consider, um, when we consider plant-based a plant-based lifestyle and a plant-based journey. And so I'm trying to get my Facebook up and running. So just give me a minute. But yeah, I just found it would be good to explore tales of a vegan life. And those of you who are vegan or vegetarian and you're joining us today, share some of your challenges in the chat. Share some of your accomplishments in the chat. I know sometimes that vegan journey can be long, and it can be challenging, especially when you know you're the only person in the homestead, or you're the only person in the home who has decided to actually shift or change your diet, right? So that change kind of requires you to go solo, so to speak, right? It kind of requires you to function alone. Greetings, Jovi Dab 23, peace. Welcome, 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 welcome. Yeah, so all of those of you who are joining us, the Anu family, Anu men, Anu women who come into the space, welcome. Thank you all for joining us. Um, and for all sovereigns who come in every single Sovereign Sunday, we appreciate you. It is 6:12. I had some good songs playing in the background, but it wouldn't continue playing. So we will just jump right in. Jump right in. So I wanted to share just a little bit about um, you know, my journey toward, yeah, a plant-based life. And I say plant-based, sometimes I think plant-based can be a bit dangerous because it opens us up to all sorts of alternatives and substitutions. And those substitutions, as we some of us may have read and know, some of those substitutions include extracts from animal proteins and even animal hemoglobin from animals. And you have to question. Sometimes you have to question how valid the sources of these substitutes are, right? How valid they are. So my journey started when there were absolutely no substitutes. There were no substitutes. My journey on the vegan life started when the only substitute we had was it was called Anchor cheese. If anybody else probably hears this right now from the Caribbean, they're probably laughing because they they have what was called a vegetarian cheese. And for many people who are transitioning, the cheese is the hard part. The cheese is the hard part. It's the part they can't let go of, right? It's the tanginess, it's the savory taste on the taste buds that have been trained to enjoy salt and savory. So it's really, sometimes it can be challenging. Peace, greetings. A new moon, peace, welcome. Greetings, True Health Live. And True Health Live will be coming out and dropping their podcast. Check out True Health Live on YouTube. Subscribe and join. There are several videos up already. So check them out. Check them out. Good deep conversation about the core of health, right? So keep posted, and yeah, get on their Instagram page as well and sign up, subscribe, so you can keep track of the work that they are doing in the community. Right? Yes. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. So yeah, when I started my vegan journey, yeah, all the only substitutes we really had was Anchor cheese, as I was saying. But even after transitioning to vegetarian and then eventually to vegan and then coming into raw and really embracing the raw experience, I never really knew. It's only a couple years after I went back and started looking at the ingredients because I saw vegetarian on the packet. So I was like, okay, fine. But I went back and I looked at all of the different ingredients, and I realized that in reality, even though it is vegetarian, you're still consuming a byproduct of cow's milk, right? Um, but now there have been so many innovations and so many different advancements in terms of not animal substitutes, but plant-based substitutes for milk and cheese and like all those dairy products. Um, and some of them are acceptable, right? For some of them are acceptable, and you know others, there are so many additives, there's so many salt added to those products that you have to kind of pull back sometimes and say, well, what is the purpose of purchasing this substitute when I can either make my own, I can actually find someone who makes authentic, original, and clean products, or I can settle for just eliminating it completely out of my diet. Because the truth is, most times when you add back all of these substitutes that have all these additives, it to me it is equivalent to just having a cup or glass of original cow's milk, or having a slice of cow's cheese made from cow's milk. Because it is that just as detrimental, it's just as taxing on the body, just as taxing on the kidneys, just as taxing on your energy levels. Because I'm sure many of you can speak to just the experience that you have after consuming these types of substitutes. So today's discussion is really about whether you really want to change, you really want to shift to a vegan lifestyle, or vegetarian or plant-based, or whether you just want to be on the bandwagon, you want to be with the group of people who could say, you know what, guess what, I actually changed, I'm vegan, because now it seems as if it's a wonderful title that people enjoy having and throwing around, without realizing that when you're shifting and changing the types of food you consume, it's really important to think about the purpose behind it. I was listening to a live discussion with a well-known vegetarian, vegan advocate in the community. And one of the things that I noticed was, and I asked the question in the chat. I'm never afraid to ask like I'll ask certain questions in the chat or make certain statements. I just don't want them to call me in on the live at all, because I might flip out. But because then I have to really, really control the things that I say, because there are so many who are advocates for the shift and the change in dietary lifestyle. However, they are compliant with companies. I think that they are compliant with large chain companies, because those companies actually seek them out to be representatives for their products. And of course, why would you bite the hand that feeds you? Why would you say anything against a company that endorses you, and they're endorsing you so that you can endorse and market their product? But one of the things that was mentioned over and over was that, yeah, they're for they're for those substitutes. If someone needs a substitute to help them through that process, then they think that that's important. I think so too. But when you have substitutes that almost mimic salmon, or almost mimic fish in its texture and how it looks, then the reality becomes, well, are you really sacrificing anything for your health? Are you really giving? Maybe you're not, because the truth is, in your mind, in your subconscious mind, there's already a replacement. It looks like it smells like it, the texture is like it. So really, I don't think so. I don't think it's a genuine sacrifice or a genuine giving up. It is a substitute. It may allow for your body to function better, right? Because again, it's plant-based, but then a lot of people don't do the work of scrutinizing the ingredient list. looking at what are the additives and how much sodium is added to this particular item so it could actually give it flavor, right? Because prior to this um, expansion of that industry, many people actually said horrible things. I almost sound like I was going to say a Hebrew word, right? Horrible things about vegan food. And that's because they would always compare it to a cardboard. How many people have heard that before? Or people look down on vegan food or vegetarian food because it lacks, in their mind, it lacks flavor. It tastes, yeah, I've heard people say that. Yes, alien black girl. It tastes like cardboard. Um, so I sometimes I think maybe it's just the challenge is, can you food prep? You know, can you, do you know the value of certain spices and how they balance the flavors of the food, right? Alien Black Girl says they lack creativity and real seasonings. That's the truth. It's the lack of real seasonings. And you know, it's interesting too. You all run an experiment. I'll say this is really difficult to find fresh seasonings. And when I say fresh seasonings, seasonings that I'm very familiar with, because I'm very familiar with lots of culantro, and you know, culantro is here, but you can find it in certain places. I am very familiar with lots of fresh seasoning peppers. Seasoning peppers are very difficult to find anywhere in the US. If you do find them, you'll pay $5 for a bag, like a little bag that can fit in your hand. And there are others that are produced here, but they have absolutely no flavor. So then it's kind of like you're left with powdered seasonings. And I noticed that that tends to be the go-to. The problem is there's a difference in taste. I definitely think there's a difference in taste. And when you use fresh seasonings, you tend to have to use a lot more. But yeah, that was just like to agree with you, Alien Black Girl. I agree. Yes, it is a. I think it is a lack of creativity and a lack of real seasonings. But I do notice that there's a plethora of information, recipes, and different tips and ideas for transitioning to healthier lifestyles. So a plant based or a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle. So a lot of people are exploring. I see that. But I think the biggest problem with the exploring is that it remains exploration. And once you have those companies that come in with all of the new byproducts or the new products, people will eventually leave the creative aspect of making their own food and start just running to the aisles and picking up all of those substitutes, all of those alternatives. Um, yes, it can mean the need for less salt. It certainly does. It certainly does. You know, I have personally experienced food prepping utilizing lots of fresh veggies, but also lots of fresh seasonings and spices and so on. And it gives, you know, each of them add their different levels of salt and flavor to it. Celery is definitely something that you can work with, and even tomatoes, and they help to add a bit of that saltiness to whatever you do. Even if it's dried tomatoes, sun-dried tomatoes are excellent. That's an excellent way to, substitute for salt. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Later on this month. Actually, I wanted to pause and greet all of you who came in so far. Yes, well, Alien Black Girl, we already greeted you up in the space. Um, Precious Stephanie, greetings, peace and shalom. Akuya Bisa, greetings, shalom. Thank you for joining us. If you all have any questions, throw them in chat, throw them in the chat, or use the nifty question icon to your right and drop your questions in there. But yeah, so I kind of go back to the timeline of my story. Yes, one of the ways that I got off of cheese after a while was to actually make the effort to stop. I literally had to pull away because I realized that even though I found a what I thought was a substitute, it really was not a substitute. I had to learn how to make my own. I had to learn how to make my own cheeses. I had to learn, and it took a while. When I discovered pine nuts and macadamia nuts and how to use those with lemon juice and other things to make cheeses, that just blew my mind completely. Completely. But it's funny, one of the first places one of the first groups of people that I learned to actually create some of these alternatives from was I think when I was still struggling with the cheese, I was sitting one day studying, and I was actually looking at um I was looking at a 7 Day Adventist channel. Don't ask me why. Okay. I was looking at a 7 Day Adventist channel. This is when I was an older teen. This is long after I transitioned from into plant based, and for some reason, I started, I was paying attention to the food items that they were prepping. I think they were showing you how to make the first recipe. They were actually showing you how to make gluten, right? Where you make a flour dough and then you wash the you wash out the starch, and you keep washing it, and you end up with gluten. You end up with a glutinous, very sticky and rubbery type of textured item. I have to say it's an item that they season, and they call gluten, and they would eat it as a food substitute, meat substitute. But the other recipe actually included the use of cashew nuts, celery, and two other items that I can't recall right now, lemon juice, and maybe some other seasoning. And that is what they used. They showed you how to soak the cashews and drain them and blend them to make cheese. So it blew my mind then, but that was the one way I was able to actually transition to completely away from the cheese. Right? So I just think it's brilliant. When we talk about the current conversation around food alternatives for vegans and vegetarians, like, I think you can get suckered into purchasing products that end up being unhealthy for you, just as unhealthy as eating a animal byproduct. But I also think that with that innovation, there are some that are healthier options, and if you use your discretion, if you kind of rationalize the items, make sure to scrutinize the ingredients, read the ingredients, read up on the ingredients. Don't just read the ingredient, read up on it. Some names are long and you may not be able to pronounce them. I used to do that. I used to say, if I can't pronounce the name, it's not real. But the truth is, some of these names are actual extracts from vitamins and minerals, and you want to familiarize yourself with what you're consuming. All right. I think that's really important. Alien Black Girl says cashew cheese is my fave base for cheese. Cashew. So we're gonna have a cashew cheese war here, because cashew cheese is really good. It is really, really good. But peace and power. Greetings, Chief Yuya. Welcome, welcome, welcome into the space. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I didn't even see that there. So yeah, cashew cheese, I will say it's a great base. It's excellent. I agree. I will say this though. I think cashews tend to be heavier, and they have higher fat content. They cream very well, but they have a higher fat content than, let's say, if you were to use sesame seed, right? Sunflower seeds, rather, not sesame seeds, sunflower seeds. Sunflower seeds have higher levels of protein, and they have less fat in them. The only thing is they require a little bit more love and care as you wash them and soak them and wash them and allow them to sprout, right? So that's the other benefit of utilizing sunflower seeds as a cheese base, because they're cheaper than cashews are. They're more affordable, rather, than cashews are. And you can actually sprout them. Another another fact to learn about cashews is cashews used to be raw for a very long time. I I actually I remember when the shift happened, when you could not find raw, truly raw cashew nuts anywhere, right? I think there was a problem with, some sort of mold or other bacteria with the raw cashews, and because of that, all across California and some other states, and then eventually across the U.S., they completely banned the selling of completely raw cashews. So now you can probably find completely raw cashews, but you'll have to find them outside of the U.S. Or you may have to purchase them directly from someone who has a is selling cashews, right? They from their farm, or so, or processing it, and probably bringing it in, and they're able to kind of get around some of those laws and so on. But you can't find any cashews that are not preheated. They're all none of them are completely raw, and you could tell the difference when you have a completely raw packet of cashew nuts, because they look plump, they don't look dried. And sometimes you'll find with the pieces, they have portions or sections where there's a shine to it, and you can't there's no way you can get around that. So, sometimes I think I think sometimes the the Food and Drug Administration, I guess, can help in certain ways, because they do catch some things, but what it does is it puts restrictions. Those restrictions aren't necessarily present in Grenada. So, you can definitely, if you travel to the Caribbean countries, you can definitely taste that there's a huge difference between the heated cashews and cashews that are just completely raw, not heated at all. Um, Alien Black Girl says, "Give thanks for the information. Love it, love it, love it." But yeah, I agree with you though. Cashews as a base is absolutely delicious. Pine nuts are have grown so expensive that I won't even suggest them. I don't even know how to, but if you're interested in trying them, pine nuts are amazing, and they're extremely delicious as a base for cheeses. And they have levels of calcium in them that are helpful, and the body can assimilate as well. Brazil nuts, I saw Brazil nuts. Greetings, Jazira Fashion House. Peace, 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 and power to you. Welcome, 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 welcome. Yes, Brazil nuts are also very expensive, but they are also very delicious as a base. Here's the thing: with Brazil nuts, the level of fibers are so high that it turns out to be, when you try to make Brazil nut cheese, sometimes if you're not adding enough water or liquid to it, lemon juice or even distilled water, you'll end up with a nut meat or a pate, right? Because it's so fibrous, it's very thick, and it becomes very bulky easily. It doesn't smooth and cream the way cashews would. You would get a smooth creamy texture with cashews. You won't always get that smooth creamy texture with the Brazil nut. And people do use Brazil nut, but they use it mostly to make cheeses that have a feta type. If you all are familiar with cheeses, this cheese type texture, it's crumbly, can break apart, that type of thing. Um, yes. Oh, you're welcome. You are welcome. Jazara says, I haven't been able to get raw ones. What, raw Brazil nuts, you mean? Yeah, if it's raw Brazil nuts, you should be able to find raw Brazil nuts at several of those chain stores, or you can purchase from small moms and pops companies off of Amazon. Actually, there are a few of them. I purchased some things like raw honey and some raw grains and some raw nuts from smaller companies. You just have to look for them. You can shout me out in the DM. I can share um, some ideas with you if you wish to. But I'll close. It is already 6:37. The time just got away with me, and I really didn't even jump into um, too much detail. Right? I wanted to talk more, but these talks can last for so long. But yeah, you may be struggling right now with a shift, wanting to change, wanting to move into a more healthier lifestyle when it comes to food and food selection. We offer consultations, so please feel free. For you can find us on Instagram. The link is in the bio. You can find us on Facebook, and our website is www.sovereigneats.com. If you have any questions, please place them in the DM. And next Sovereign Sunday, we will discuss even more details about a vegan lifestyle and transitioning. Come with your questions, but I just kind of wanted to give you a little tale in my own journey transitioning to a vegan life and how I got over that hump or that challenge when it came to letting go of cheese, right? And letting go of the desire for cheese. There's some other things that we can talk about too. Not just the texture of foods, but the smells, the tastes, and also the memories. I believe one of the Instagram lives, I think it was back in December, I was speaking about a particular food that I indulge in because there's this connection to the memory of sharing that particular food with a relative. So, well, my father, my dad. So it's just interesting how foods are, and the smell of foods can trigger certain things in us, and it can cause us to, hold on to them, hold on to them. But in that case, the food will be controlling you. All right, so you have the potential and you have that power to control all of the desires and hankerings, but sometimes it means that you have to have something to substitute and to help you transition, right? To kind of help you transition out of it. I'm looking to see if I missed anyone. All right, I did not. I greeted everyone. Thank you all for joining us, and ooh, Jazara says, okay, maybe may need to do that. Yeah. Link up, link up. Almonds are another one. I forgot, but almonds are just as fibrous as Brazil nuts too. So the cheese kind of comes out a little bit different. Aquia Basa says, that was quick. Oh my goodness. Yes, it was quick. It was quick, short and sweet. Thank you, Revel Waves. That was really good. Give thanks. Yes, thank you. Join us again. Oh, Tuesday's midday motivation. Yeah, join us at midday. Please, peace and power to you all.